Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Ellen's Bread Machine and Baking Videos. All my videos, by the way, are recipes that are peanut and tree nut free, not sesame free though, and most things are not gluten free, but I do have a gluten-free video that will be coming up in the next month or so. So I have gone into my test kitchen, so to speak, and come up with, I don't know if it's crazy, but I took some ingredients and it started with rice. This is black Japonica, and I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but here's the package. Japonica, I don't know, rice. And I believe you could also make this with wild rice. So I thought to myself, what would be good with rice? Well, rice is kind of known as Asian food in every kind of Asian cooking that I can think of. And what else is kind of an Asian food? And I thought, sesame and sesame seeds. And the wheels started to spin. And now I have developed a recipe that I am loosely calling Asian-inspired sesame rice bread. So, excuse me. So, I'm going to start with water. And by the way, in the description of the video will be the full written out recipe. You don't need to pay attention. I'm not even going to tell you how much of everything. If you are on an iPad or iPhone, directly across from the title, under the screen of the video, across from the title, there's a very, very tiny down arrow. And that's what you click. If you are on Safari, you may not be able to see the description. We had a little experiment going with one of my bread friends, and he had to go to Google Chrome. But if you look under the title of the bread machine, it has the first couple sentences of the description, then it says show more. And if you click on show more, the recipe will be there. I think Google or Google, same company, recently changed that. If you ever have trouble finding the description, send me a message. I will get that recipe to you. You can message me on YouTube, but it's easier if you message me on Facebook under Ellen Walker Hoffman. So here is my Asian-inspired black rice sesame bread. So I have water. It's going in the bread pan. I have an egg, and I just don't beat it all the way, but I slightly beat it. Let me just get that under running water before it becomes cement. And in this measuring cup, I have toasted sesame oil. Sesame oil, regular sesame oil, will not give you the flavor as much as if you get toasted sesame oil. You don't have to use this brand. This just happens to be one that I wrote to the company, and they said there's no cross-contamination with tree nuts because, as you know, I'm allergic to nuts. So it is this, but any toasted sesame oil. If you want to make it with regular sesame oil, you can, of course, or any oil for that matter. But the toasted sesame oil is what gives it the flavor. And there's also honey in here. So in this measuring cup is both toasted sesame oil and honey. And if you put your honey in the measuring cup with the oil, it comes out a little bit easier. I am going to scrape a bit. And that smells so good. You know, when I make chicken sometimes, boneless and skinless chicken, I just coat it with soy sauce, sesame oil, this sesame oil, the toasted, and honey and sesame seeds, and it is so good. This is a little bit of low sodium soy sauce. And the reason I'm emphasizing low sodium soy sauce is because there's a salt issue. So I know that I have 7 grams of salt. If this was higher in sodium, the regular soy sauce, I might take a couple of grams of salt out. So I'm also putting that in with the liquid. So the wild rice, or the rice, the black rice, and the sesame seeds, which I chose black because I kind of wanted the color and the speckle in my bread. Could you use not black, regular white sesame seeds? Of course you can. Totally yours. It's your bread. All right, so let's see. I have my water, I have my egg, I have my oil, I have my honey, I have my soy sauce, and now I'm going to add my bread flour, King Arthur bread flour. I don't use any other kind. You know that I always try to sprinkle it around. Okay. Do you want me to move this over? Yeah, a little bit? Okay. And I need my salt. And finally, I need my yeast. Make a little well in the middle and dump it in. I'm gonna ask my cameraman to come around behind me for a second because you might think that my process is kind of funny. This was the original recipe and I used wild rice, but I used grapeseed oil and honey, a little less honey, and I added craisins and it was really good, but I had put the rice in at the beginning instead of at the ad. So you can see this is my process. These are my modifications. I just thought you might enjoy seeing how my crazy brain works. So I'm going to put this in. If you have a Zovi Plus and you have the heat rest cycle on, because I know some of you turn it off, but if you leave it on, I put it in on course 11, which is dough, press start, and I set a timer for 27 minutes. 27 minutes seems to be perfect for the preheat time and 5 minutes into the kneading, because of course 5 minutes into the kneading is where I want to check my dough to make sure it's making a beautiful dough ball. And we say, hello little dough ball, you're so pretty. And then a few minutes later, it'll beep and it'll tell me to add the rice and the sesame seeds. I am going to add a teeny bit of flour into that rice, and I'm not going to do it right now. You won't see me do this, but I'm just going to take my fingers and try to get the rice kind of coated with flour so it distributes a little bit better. Okay, no, I didn't measure that. A teaspoon, I have no idea. You don't want to add a lot of flour, obviously, because that will contribute to extra flour in your dough. So I have sesame seeds here. It'll be in the recipe how much I used. And we're going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get this going in the bread machine, set my timer, and then I will show you, as I check the dough, I'll show you what that looks like and if I needed to add flour or if I needed to add water. Last time I made it, it was perfect. So I don't anticipate any adjustments, but I don't know whether today is less humid or more humid than it was the day I made it last week, so who knows? All right, see you in a bit. And like magic, we have a pretty nice dough ball. Oh, and it smells so good. I'm a sesame girl. I love sesame and chocolate and Parmesan cheese. Those are my 3 favorite flavors. So this is not too wet. It is not too dry. It is tacky. You can actually hear that, but not sticky. It's perfect. So I have my rice that I had some flour in. It's still going to be sticky, but that's okay. And I have my sesame seeds here waiting by the bread machine, and in about 5, 6, 7 minutes the ad beep will happen and I will put the rice and the sesame seeds in gradually. When I made this bread the first time, the rice didn't get all the way incorporated. I mean, it did, but it got in there, but it didn't knead through completely. But in a way, I kind of liked it that way. It kind of marbled a little bit. And the color of the rice actually bleeds, so turns some of the dough kind of pinkish. So anyway, you'll see. I'm not going to be too surprised if that happens again. beautiful. Hello, so I just added the rice. You can see that it has to finish getting it blended in, and I might actually stick my hands in there and give it a little help. But I'll wait and see how it goes. And it just started rising. There's a little bit of gooey rice there. I'm not going to worry about it at this point, but you can see how the rice kind of bleeds a little and there's some pink. But it turns out great. Let's check to see the rise. And it is definitely rising. It has 26 minutes before the dough cycle is complete. I'm gonna take you across the kitchen. Well, not all the way across. And I have my loaf pans ready and I'm getting a phone call. And we're back. The dough has risen, and you can see what I meant about how the rice kind of doesn't get evenly distributed, but it doesn't matter, and I'll show you why when we're done. This dough ball was not sticky. It's very sticky now, but it wasn't sticky before when I added, and I didn't have to add any flour or water 5 minutes in, but the rice is sticky. So when I added the rice, and it was 200 grams of rice, which is a lot, it made the dough sticky after after I added the rice. So the dough was the correct consistency, and it turned out this way when I made it the first time. It is a little sticky, but it will bake up perfectly. All I am doing right now, getting more flour on my hands. All I am doing right now is trying to shape it to plop it into the loaf pan, okay? And the only way that I could handle it was to use a little flour on top and on the bottom and all of that. So, sorry for the crackling. I don't want to move the bread pan onto the flour. So the husband is having to use a long reach. So I'm just patting it in, and then I'm going to just rub all this gook off. I'm not going to wash my hands yet. So just in case you haven't seen me do this before, I'm going to move the oven rack. I'm going to put this down. It's ridiculous. I'm going to move the oven rack down because my 2-pound loaves tend to, poof up pretty high. So this is how I let my dough rise for the final time. Turn it on to bake. The lowest temperature my oven goes to is 170. So I put bake 170 start, and I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. Now, if you know what I'm going to say next, go ahead and fast forward. That's okay. What I am doing is turning on the oven at the lowest temperature possible for only 1 minute. I want it to get to about 80, 85 degrees. And that's all it will get. When the timer stops after 1 minute, I'll stick my hand in there and I will feel it warm, but nothing will be hot. I can touch everything in the oven, it won't be hot. And it is as if you have walked out of your house on a warm summer day, about 85 degrees, and you feel it, you feel that warmth right away. But it's not fry an egg on the sidewalk warm or hot. It's not quite that hot. Okay, so we have 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And not only am I turning the timer off, I am turning the oven off. I cannot stress to you much. Let's talk, Ellen. Blah, blah, blah. I cannot stress enough. You are not heating your oven to 170. You are only turning your oven on to whatever the lowest temperature is for 1 minute only and turning the oven off. You are using 1 minute of precious electricity. That's it. Now, if you happen to have a proof button on your oven, a proof setting, I guess I should say. Use your proof setting. Just click proof. I don't have an oven like that, so I don't know what to do. But if you have proof, use that for about 40 to 45 minutes. 45 minutes, but what I do is I set it for 40 minutes because it rises another 5 minutes when I'm preheating my oven to bake it. So now, if I stick my hand in there, it's as if I walked out into a warm summer day, but it is not hot. So I'm going to put this in here. See, I can touch this, not hot. And I'm going to set my timer for 40 minutes. Set. Okay, and by then final rise will be done. And take it out and I'll egg wash it. And also for this loaf, I'm going to do an egg wash mixture with not only egg and water, but a little squirt of honey too. And I'm going to sprinkle some more of those black sesame seeds on top because that looks pretty. If you don't like sesame, this bread may not be for you. I don't know. But that's what we're doing. So I'll show you what it looks like after it's risen. I know some of you might have a countertop oven. This is Breville Smart Air, and it has all those functions, including proof. So sometimes I let my breads proof, and I use 85 degrees and 40 minutes, and they come out perfectly. You want to, if it's a 2-pound loaf especially, put your bottom tray all the way on the bottom. And in fact, I have some brioche dough that I'm making for a friend. You can see that it fits, but I don't like it for baking. Baking the breads, the dough rises, and then it's too close to the top element, and the bread gets brown really fast. And even if I cover it with foil, it just isn't quite the best thing. In a pinch, I guess you could do it, but I have 2 ovens plus this, so I do occasionally use this for proofing. Everything is looking good. It's all done rising. This is me by myself taking the video, so I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to egg wash, and I put egg, water, and a little bit of honey too, just for kicks and giggles. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with more black sesame seed, and it will look so pretty. So I've added the egg wash, and I've liberally sprinkled it with the black sesame seeds. Can you tell I like sesame seeds? All right, putting it into bake right now. Woo! Bread's out of the oven. Now I'm going to move it onto the cooling rack, and I only have me with the video, so I'm gonna have to turn it off and turn it back on again. But all I'm gonna do is lift these sides and lift it right onto the rack. It's so easy that way. I think this bread is so interesting looking, and believe me, it tastes amazing. So this is a 2-pound loaf. There's the pan. I think it's 10 by 5 by 3 inches high. And actually Williams Sonoma calls it a 1.5-pound loaf. My personal favorite is this big mushroom top. I like that. Could you have divided this into 2 1-pound loaves? Why not? And can you see that the rice kind of turns part of it brown? I think that's really cool. So I'm just gonna go around. You're so pretty. So pretty, pretty, pretty bread. And it just smells heavenly sesame deliciousness. All right, after it cools for a bit, I will show you what it looks like on the inside. I know I didn't make the video about another bread, but I just happened to make this brioche to take to a friend tomorrow. Seriously, this dough makes the best hamburger buns, but also if you slice it really thin and toast it, it gets so wonderfully crispy. It is just one of my very best recipes. And you can find it here on my channel very easily. So I'm not the world's best videographer, sorry folks, but there we go. All right. Turning the camera off for now, and then in a minute you will see slices. I'm just here doing my workout. All right, so here is the Asian-inspired black rice and sesame bread. Here we go for the big reveal. Ooh. Ah. I'll cut another piece. So, see how the rice sort of bled? I don't know how to anyway, but it kind of marbles the bread, and it looks really cool. You can tell that it's a squishy, soft bread, but when you squeeze it with your little fingies, you can feel the bits of rice and even the sesame seeds. So this bread is soft, but what I say is that it has a nice chew to it. So it has texture. It's not a dense bread, it's a very soft bread, but it has beautiful, like there's chew to it. You can taste the bits of rice, and you can feel it in your teeth, and you can feel it in your mouth. So it has a nice and a slightly unusual texture, and it's hearty. Yeah, it's soft, but it's hearty. It's not crusty. It's not a crusty bread. It has a nice crust, but it's not like a crusty bread. So it is delicious. I love me some sesame. Hope you like this video. Let me know if you make it. Remember, if you have trouble finding the recipe in the description of this video, send me a message. I'll help you out. If you want to talk to me, best way is sending me a message through Facebook Messenger, the private messages on Facebook, and you would look for me, Ellen Walker Hoffman. Don't send me a friend request. I mean, not that I don't think you're all really nice people, but don't send me a friend request. Send me a message, a private message on Facebook and Messenger. And if you're not on Facebook, that's okay. We will figure it out. Send me a message on YouTube. We will figure it out. I will always help you figure out what to do. The recipe's in the description. Let me know if you need help, and enjoy. Boing, 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 boing. Look how pretty that is.